Vortex. Why are you here?
Okay, here's a look at Transformers Age of the Primes Combaticon Vortex. So here you can see what the front of the box looks like with the really nice artwork there of Vortex in robot mode and in his alt mode. And here you could see this is for kids 8 and up, and this is 1 of 5, and it's a 19-step transformation. And if you see in there, I already opened it up with the frustrating Autobot tissue paper, which you have to really be careful to make sure you got all the accessories out of there. And the back of the box, you get your typical product images. Here you could see Vortex in robot mode and his alt mode. And again, it's a 19-step transformation. And the side of the box, you get some of the 13 primes. And the other side, you get this really nice teaser artwork of Bruticus. So here you could see his head and the guns on his back and the thrusters off of Blastoff, his hand, and Brawl with the Decepticon symbol and Swindle down there. So this is a really cool teaser artwork of Bruticus. And the top of the box, you get Combaticon Vortex by Takara Tomy. And there is a T after Takara when you say Tomy after Takara. So it's Takara Tomy. And then the bottom, you get your warning words and stuff. So that is a look at the box. And here is a look at Vortex already transformed into his alt mode. But first, let's take a look at the instructions, which is in that open up sheet that I complained many times because the booklet style would be functionally easier to work with, but this way I know they save on cost, so this is probably why it's always going to be done this way. But here you could see at least the instructions are not very long, and that's because the transformation for this figure is actually very simple and easy to transform. So there's nothing complicated with the transformation design for the kids. And I personally witnessed on many occasions that kids are somehow able to figure out how to transform the figure with no instructions. So that is a look at the instructions. And now when we take a closer look at the figure, you'll see that first I attached the 3 guns according to the instructions, but I kind of wish they would have designed it so that the front gun here could attach in the center to be a little bit more tune accurate, and maybe even painted it that blue color, as well as back here maybe painting the back of these guns blue to be more tune accurate, and to be more nitpicky, maybe even adding a little wheel back here. But you know, this is a mainline retail figure, so that should explain why things, you know, are off here and there. But when you zoom in and take a closer look at the figure, first, you know, it does have this nice gunmetal gray, which looks really nice. It almost has like a metallic look and feel to it. And also the black paint and blue paint looks really nice. And it is nicely sculpted. I mean, even the window frames here, they did sculpt it in, and they even painted it silver. So they did a nice job here. And when you look close throughout, you could see that there is all this extra sculpted detail, which adds just a nice accent to the aesthetics of this figure overall. So props to the toy sculptors. They did a really nice job on this figure. And then from the back view, yeah, I can also point out, you know, things are not really accurate to the cartoon. It's missing some paint back here, and even the back propellers here, it's missing a little bit of paint. But, you know, again, this is a mainline retail figure, so that should explain why, you know, things are not really accurate to the cartoon. And, you know, I'll just tell you that kids, who this is targeted for, they're not even going to notice it. So that should hopefully explain why, you know, this is not really 100% accurate to the cartoon. But for the most part, you know, I think they did a much nicer job than their previous version in terms of capturing the toon aesthetic. So I really like the way this looks. So that's a look at Vortex in his alt mode. And now for some comparisons. Here is a look at the original G1. And here you could see the gun is attached in the center, and it does have that turquoise green color, as well as back here, you know, it has that color. But this is also not very toon accurate, and that's typical of the G1. You know, the toy doesn't match the cartoon, and the cartoon doesn't match the toy. But overall, this is still a really nice figure. It, you know, brings some nostalgic feeling. So here you could see what these two look like next to each other. So this is the first original OG version, and here's the current latest updated version. So here's a look at that. And then for some more comparisons, let's bring out the Hasbro Combiner Wars. And every time I bring out the Hasbro, I always have to point out the issues that I have with it. And that's, you know, mainly the color decals are always off with Hasbro. And I'll just share with you, you know, one time, you know, I was listening to the supposed product designers from Hasbro explaining that, you know, the work that they do is the decals, trying to determine what colors, if they should make this yellow, or if they should make this turquoise color, or maybe they should add some purple here. That's not really product design. If anything, that's more like graphic design. But I kind of look at that as kind of like, you know, putting colors in a coloring book. But yeah, I always have to point that out, because the main thing is to know that with Hasbro, you're always going to get colors off here and there. So here is a look at the Combiner Wars. And then when you bring out the Takata Unite Warriors, here I'm also going to point out some differences. Takata is always, you know, is always focused on trying to capture the toon aesthetics. So with Takata, you could see they did paint this blue. They did paint the front blue, that blue stripe up here and here. And I didn't mention it, but also the propellers, you could see there's 4 propellers. And with Hasbro, there's 2. So yeah, the main thing is I'm just pointing out the differences between Hasbro and Takata. Takata focuses more on trying to capture the toon aesthetics. And with Hasbro, they're, I don't know what you call it, but they're always just doing their own thing, putting the decals here and there, colors are off. And for some people, you know, they'll complain about it. But really, for kids, they're not even going to notice the difference. And that's the main thing. These are targeted for the kids. And for adult collectors, you know, they're the ones who are mostly going to complain about it. But here you could see the differences between these. And I do want to point out and address another issue. So first, you know, if you know me from all my reviews, I do prefer the cartoon aesthetics. And that's not to say that I don't like these, because I do appreciate the design. But mainly my preference is for the toon aesthetic. So that's why, one of the reasons why I'm always pointing out what is and isn't very toon accurate. But I wanted to make that clear that because, you know, I point these things out, I am not saying that these figures are bad because it's not very toon accurate. And I want to explain, you know, part of the reason why is because of my education and experience with product design. You have to take an objective perspective on it, meaning that you have to be able to look at these figures to see the differences between them and why it is, so that you could see the positive and negatives of, you know, the differences. And I'll also point out that there are other people, that might say that, oh, these figures are better because of the design elements here, look much better than this. And, I'll just tell you that if you take that approach in an actual product design review, you're going to be fired, because you're doing everything going against the way that, things are actually done in product review. You need to really look at this objectively, all, the differences between them, to be able to point out what's positive and negative. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, really quick and short as I can to, address that. And also, I want to point out that even though I prefer the cartoon aesthetics, like I said, I do appreciate the differences, mainly the design. And here I wanted to point out, with the older design, you could see, look at the way they sculpted in the window here. It has more of a dynamic shape rather than this one. It's pretty plain and simple, more like the cartoon. But this one, you could see they even angled these windows, so they're not going, they're not just these simple rectangle shapes. They're actually angled. So from a design point of view, that actually looks really nice and interesting. And that's one of the main reasons why I do appreciate it. So I'm making it clear that, because this is not tune accurate, I have never said that this is bad because this is not tune accurate, and this is better because this is more tune accurate. There are people who do, complain like that, but I'm making it clear I am not doing that. And that's mainly because of my background in education and experience with product design. So with that, I'll just tell you real quick again with this figure, what I do appreciate. This actually, from a design perspective, there's definitely some cool things about it. I mean, even the wings back here, that's not very tune accurate. Even here, they sculpted in this. So this is kind of like a, stylized rendition of Vortex. So anyways, I just wanted to point all that out and just let you know the differences. And, when you look at them, actually, all of these look good. Even the Hasbro. I'm trying to be objective and trying to, appreciate why they painted this purple and yellow. Because, from a kid's point of view, who these are targeted for, it does add some interesting colors. And so maybe that's the reason why they deckled it this way. Because, they're targeting it for the kids. But anyways, here is a look at some comparisons between the other versions. And now we can transform Vortex to his robot mode and take a look at that. Okay, to take up your precious time, like some people commented and complain with the length of my videos, let's do the transformation by removing the guns. There's 3 of them that you want to untab. And then take those off and put them to the side, and come to the propeller and close that up, and come to the back here. This is just something hard to notice, but there is a small piece here. You want to rotate this up. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but that's, part of the transformation. And then these are the arms, so you want to separate them by coming to the top. There is a parting line that you want to use to separate these arms, and then it attaches here on the shoulder. So you want to just extend these out to form these arms, and then you could see the way this is orientated. So then you just rotate these arms down and out at an angle. And then since we're doing the arms, might as well just finish it up. So here you could see that this panel covers the arm. So to get it out, to get the arm out, you want to bend that arm 90 degrees, and then come here where his thumb is at, hold that, and then pull down this cover panel, and that'll make it easier to bring this out. And then you could see these exposing. There's a slot there for the gun, so you take the smaller gun and then you can attach that in there. And this side has these propellers here that you want to bring this down. And then also up here, this jet piece, you want to rotate it down like so. And then do the same on this side. So bend his arm up and then grab his thumb here and pull down this panel cover, which then will bring the arm out, exposing that slot. And then you take the small gun, tab it in, and then this top piece, this thruster, you want to rotate this down 90 degrees. And then let's come up a little bit so we can get a better view. Here you want to fold up the landing wheels, and then there is this piece here that's a cover for his head. So fold that down and then rotate his head around 180. And then now coming to the back, you want to take this piece with the propellers attached to and rotate that 90 degrees, so that now we can come down here to bring out his legs. And here you want to bring forward these panels on both sides. That will now allow you to untab up here. You untab that, and then you can accordion this up, and it does tab in here. This blue knee joint is going to go into the slot up there, so make sure you get that pushed up all the way, tabbed in, which is what will allow you to now close this up so it's nice and flush on both sides. And then you can separate these legs, and then here these feet, you can separate them so you have the feet and the heels, and then you can just straighten them all out. Oh, I forgot this back piece, you rotate it up. It just it does lock in place. And then the last thing is now we can take his gun and give him his gun, attach it, just tab that in, and now we have Vortex in his robot mode. And now, before taking a closer look at the figure, let's first compare this with the animation model. And you could see that for the most part they did a nice job capturing the toon aesthetics, but there are things off that I can always point out. But I'll just point out the main thing for me. I think the color of the guns should have been painted this blue color, because I think it would have stood out a little bit better with the colors. And then from the back view, you could see it's pretty much the same thing. For the most part, they did a nice job capturing the toon aesthetics. So this version is definitely, more accurate to the cartoon than their previous Combiner Wars or Unite Warriors version. But now let's zoom in and take a closer look at the figure. So first, look at that really nicely sculpted head, very toon accurate. I really like that. And then as you move down, you could see there is all this extra sculpted in detail, which I told you from a design point of view, it does look nice. It does add some extra accent to the overall aesthetics to the figure. So I have to appreciate that from that point of view. But I'll tell you this, that with Magic Square, which is a masterpiece, either the mini masterpiece Legend or the masterpiece that's coming out, which I'm looking forward to getting, that one is more toon accurate. Pretty, and some other people complain it's lacking all this extra detail. So, there's differences in opinion. But I'm telling you, I appreciate both. This one doesn't have that plain, clean, more toon accurate aesthetics, and that's not like I'm complaining because of that, because I'm pointing out that I actually appreciate all this extra sculpted in detail from a design perspective. It actually looks really nice. So here is a look at Vortex in his robot mode. And if anyone's interested, I forgot to go over the articulation. So let's come back up here so you could see his head is on a ball joint, so it can go up and down, side to side, all around. His shoulders, they can go out to the side, they can go forward and back. He does have a bicep swivel, and he does have an elbow joint that is on these teeth. so it does kind of lock into place each step. And this is the easiest way to, have joints articulate this way without, adding more parts for a ratchet. And then when you spread his arms out, you could see he does have a waist rotation but no ab crunch. His legs can go forward and back, out to the side, thigh rotation, and he does have this knee bend. And yeah, here's this hollow gaps that adult collectors are going to complain about, but it's there because, this is targeted for kids, and kids aren't really going to complain much about that. But just wanted to point out there is a little gap there that for me, it actually doesn't bother me. And then coming down to the feet, he does have the much needed ankle rocker that we get today with the new figures. And he does have a toe tilt down, but no toe tilt up. So that is a look at some articulations and the figure. And now for some comparisons, let's bring out the original G1. So here's just a close-up look at the original G1, and here I was telling you the colors of the guns. I would have just from a design perspective, I think it just stands out a little bit more. That's why I was saying, it would have been nice if they would have painted it. But here's a look at the original G1. So here's the original OG G1 next to the current updated version. And then let's bring out the previous Combiner Wars. And here's the Hasbro. And like I said, I'm always gonna, point out the issues I have with the Hasbro and the colors. Man, I mean, just look at this. I mean, this is like a rainbow color chest. What is with that? And, I could complain on and on. And I'm making it clear, I'm not complaining that this is and saying this is bad because, all this doesn't match the cartoon aesthetics. But I am complaining, just from a design point of view, just my personal opinion, how I think this looks. And they do this with all the other figures. Look at his hips. Look at, why is it this green color and then the gray when it maybe makes more sense just to have it all gray? And now when I try to understand this objectively from, a design perspective, trying to understand why they're doing it, thinking back to what their supposed product designers at Hasbro are saying that they're doing, I look at it, first of all, this is targeted for kids. So maybe the Hasbro product designers, what they're doing with the colors are really designing, this to be aesthetically pleasing to the kids. Because now I'm thinking, when the kids, you're coloring and then you're seeing their, how they're coloring things off because they're putting all these different colors, kind of like this. So that kind of makes sense from that point of view. I mean, there's no way to know why Hasbro colored it this way, but I'm just telling you my best guess as to explain why the colors are like this. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the work that the Hasbro product designers are doing are trying to design this so that it looks interesting for the kids. Even the head is the wrong color. It should be gray. But anyways, here's a look at the Hasbro Combiner Wars version. And then let's bring out the Takata that I already pointed out. They do focus more on capturing the cartoon aesthetics. And now you could see the difference between Takata and Hasbro. You could see the Takata colors are definitely more accurate to the cartoon than the Hasbro versions. And here you could just see the difference. And then obviously there is the differences. These two are more like the stylized rendition version, and the current versions are now trying to be a little bit more like the cartoon. So here's a look at the comparisons between the other versions. And so now I think I'll just end my review here, because there's no point in showing you the combined mode when this is all we have for the Combaticons. There isn't anything. I mean, I could take the Superion, but I don't want to go to that extent. So I'll just end it here and just let you know that once we get all the rest of the Combaticons, I'll do my full review of the comparisons with the Bruticus of the Combiner Wars. But yeah, so with that, I'll just tell you that overall, you know, I really like this figure, and I really like playing with these propellers. It's kind of fun. But anyways, overall, I really like this figure, not just because this captures the toon aesthetics much more accurate than the previous versions, but I didn't mention the other things. It's because the quality of the plastic on these are much more dense, and you know, I don't have concerns when manipulating and transforming it that parts will break. You do have to apply some force when trying to get things to tab in. And that's just to let you know that this is a very strong and durable figure. I don't want to start doing this, but you know, you could be really rough with it. And here I'm just doing this to show you this is why this is targeted for kids. Because in product design, when you're designing things for kids, this is one of the main things that you are focusing on when designing products for kids. And I know that because I'll just let you know, my teacher, Stan Kong, was one of my product design teachers. He was the one trying to discourage me from designing toys, but he made it clear that, you know, there's not much design that goes into designing toys other than the safety aspect. And so here, this is one of the safety aspects. You don't want things to break and fall off and, you know, kids getting hurt. But, you know, that's one reason why I was pointing out, you know, that this is designed for kids. And here's one of the perfect examples is that, you know, it's very strong. Now, I'll point out, like, a comment I responded to. You try doing this with X-Transbots or fans toys, it's gonna break. So hopefully that's a good example to let you know that this is designed for kids, not for adults. But I will also say Hasbro knows that adults are collecting these, so they are trying to do their best to incorporate some aspects that will be appealing to adults. But either way, they know that the adults are going to buy it one way or another. So anyways, instead of rambling, you know, hopefully I shared as much as I, you know, could to try to explain, you know, everything I wanted to, you know, to share. But as far as this figure goes, this is a really nice figure. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the Combaticons, especially when we get this nice teaser image of what Bruticus is going to look like. This is going to be a really amazing set. So with that said, that's my final thoughts and review for this Age of the Primes Combaticon Vortex.